ॐ दक्षिणास्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशववामन कृष्णपाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरु सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ नमो भगवते वैवस्वताय मृत्यवे ब्रह्मविद्याचार्याय नचिकेतसे च। So now we are in the second valley of the second chapter where Lord Yama, who is the Acharya, is talking about Sarvatma Bhava. We already saw in the first few verses that Bhagwan Yamadharmaraja talked about that consciousness within the body mind sense complex of one jiva is the same consciousness behind the body mind sense complexes of all the jivas, and ultimately it is the same consciousness which is the adhishtanam of the entire universe of names and forms. That was what was talked about in the first few verses. And then we also saw that Yamadharma Raja said after the second verse, in third verse he said, Hanta te pravakshami. I'm going to talk to you again about the Swarupam of this Brahman. What is this Brahman? What is the Swarupam of this Brahman? What is the Swarupam of this Atma? We already know that Atma and Brahman are one and the same. We cannot differentiate between the two. Atma Brahma Ekatvam. We have already seen in all our previous sessions, in all our previous topics that we have dealt, we have already seen that. Now, whatever is being told here, Hanta te pravakshami, I am going to tell you again the Swarupam of this Brahman. Why? Because this Brahman is something which is very, very difficult to understand, something which is very, very subtle, and that which requires a lot of repetition on the part of the Shruti. The Shruti describes the same Brahman again and again in many ways, using many prakriyas so that the listener or the student, the shishyas, are able to understand it to the best of their ability as fast as possible through any of the prakriyas that are used. Therefore, we may find that there are a lot of repetitions in every Upanishad, but the repetitions are not mere punaruktis. It is not meant simply to kind of wander around repeating it again and again. No, it is basically meant to make it very clear to the listener so that the listener is able to very, very clearly understand what is being talked about. And before he went again to the Brahma Swarupam, he in the seventh verse, he said, in the seventh verse, which we saw last time, he said, a person who is an Ajnani, a person who has not understood Atma Brahma Abhedam, Atma Brahma Ekatvam, a person who has not understood this at all, such a person, what happens to him? He said, Yamadharma Raja said that, Yoni Manye Prapadyante Sharirattvaya Dehinaha. An Ajnani, what happens to an Ajnani? An Ajnani is somebody who is trying to, find different bodies for himself. This Ajnani, after the death of the body, the jiva of the Ajnani travels. And where does this travel? Why does it travel? because there are so many karma phalas which are pending in the account of this Ajnani, Jiva, and these karma phalas have to be worked out, and therefore this jiva travels looking for another new body in which a part of the sanchita karmas manifesting as prarabdha karmas can be worked out. They can be worked out. Therefore, you say yonim anye prapadyante. Most of these, ajnanis, when they die, their jiva, that is the sukshma sharira, karana sharira, along with chidabhasa and all the sanchita karmas together, that thing which is called as the jiva, it travels and yonim anye prapadyante. They go in search of different wombs to get a new shariram, sharirattvaya dehinah. They go searching for new wombs where they can get the ideal form of the body in which they can go through the karma phalas which are supposed to be gone through. The prarabdha karmas which have fructified for the next life, those prarabdha karmas can be gone through only in a certain suitable body, and therefore this jiva takes up whatever is the suitable body to work out all the karmas that are going to be unfolded for the next life. Sthanum anye anusanyanti. Some of them, they even go into the plant bodies. Some of them may even get plant bodies. Sthavaram, sthanu means sthavaram. Sthanu does not mean a parvata or anything like that. A sthanu means anything which is not moving. Sthavara. Jangama shariras are the animal shariras and the human shariras and the other higher, exalted being shariras which are moving, Jangama shariras. So some of the people, Ajnanis, depending upon their punya papa, which is accrued, which is to be worked out in the next life, some of them may take to human birth. If the punya is more, they may probably be born as higher exalted jivas. But those who have very bad karmas, very bad or papa karmas exceeding compared to the punya karmas, which are likely to fructify, such jivas may even take birth as thanuhu, or in the form of plant life, maybe in the form of plants also. Sthanu anye anusayanti yatha karma yatha shrutam. Is this taking of the body just random? Does Ishvara randomly allocate some bodies to every jiva? No, it is not so. Then what is it that makes a particular traveling jiva to get a particular form, a particular body? It is yatha karma yatha shrutam. Yatha karma means depending upon the karma phala which is waiting to be fructified as prarabdha karma for that particular life to come. Yatha Shrutam, whatever has been the state of his knowledge, whatever he has known, whatever he has done. So, whatever is known to him in the form of knowledge, his previous karmas are ultimately going to decide what kind of a body this person, this jiva, is going to embody itself into. So, Yamadharma Raja had promised Nachiketa that he'll talk two things in this. One is Brahmasvarupam, the other thing is what happens to an Ajnani when he leaves the body. So he talked about what happens to an Ajnani Jiva when it leaves the body, that was talked about. Now, again from the 8th verse until the 15th verse, that is until the end of this chapter, Yamadharma Raja is going to talk about nothing but the Swarupam of this particular Jiva. What is the, Swarupam of Brahman? What is the Swarupam of this Brahman? This is what is going to be talked about here. So, what does he say? We saw this verse, the 8th verse, in the last session, but I would like to again come back to it and give you a small review of the 8th mantra which we have seen in the last session. So, he says here, Yayesha supteshu jagarti kamam kamam purusho nirmimanaha तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्म तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकाः श्रिताः सर्वे तदुनात्येति कश्चन ये तद्वै तत्. Nachiketa, whatever you asked for, this Atma that you asked for, this particular consciousness which you wanted to know, it is this ye tat vaitat. Constantly, Yamadharmaraja is reminding Nachiketa that you asked for this particular thing, and I am going to talk to you or give an answer to what that Brahman is. This is what Nachiketa wanted in the first chapter, also in the 20th verse. In the third vara also he wanted the same thing in the second vali. And also here, later also, he asked, what is this anyatra dharmat, anyatra adharmat, anyatra arthat, krita akritat? So he wanted to know what that Atma is, what that Brahman is. So he's going to say, yetad vaitat. What you asked for, this Atma Swarupam, that is what I'm going to talk about. So he says, ya yesha sukteshu jagarti. What goes to sleep? The mind goes to sleep. The jiva goes to sleep. The mind dreams. The mind is awake. The mind dreams. The mind goes to sleep. So the mind keeps on changing its avasthas from Jagrit avastha to Swapna avastha to Sushupti avastha, mutually excludable, mutually exclusive three states, what are called as the avasthatraya, this mind or this jiva goes through. But what is that which is awake all the time in and through all these three avasthas of the mind? The mind is going through the Jagrat avastha, and there is something which is awake and something which is the witness consciousness of this Jagrat avastha. When the jiva is dreaming also, there is something which is awake and which is the sakshi or the witness of the dream state also. When the jiva goes to deep sleep also, there is something else which is awake and which is the sakshi or the witness of the deep state avastha also. Therefore, he says, ya yesha supteshu jagarti, that which is awake all the times. Even when a person is when a jiva is dreaming or sleeping, there is this consciousness, the witness consciousness, which is all the time awake. In all the three avasthas, it is awake. It lights up or it makes the Jagrat Jiva know the Jagrat Prapancha. It makes the Swapna Jiva to experience the Swapna Avastha. It makes the Sushupta Jiva ultimately to be in deep sleep without knowing anything. In ultimately Ananda Swarupa, the person is completely asleep in deep ignorance and in happiness. So that state of deep sleep also is awared by something. What is that something? It is this consciousness which is aware of even the deep sleep when a jiva goes to sleep. Kamam kamam purusho nirmimanaha. A person desires for things in Jagrit Avastha, desires for things in Swapna Avastha. But who is this consciousness? It is the Sakshi Chaitanyam, the witness consciousness of the Jiva who's desiring for something, desiring for the objects in Swapna Avastha also, in Jagrat Avastha also. Of course, in Sushupti Avastha, since the mind is asleep, since the sense organs are asleep, and since everything is folded up, there's no question of desiring. The person is naturally in the state of total ignorance and total peace and happiness at that particular time in sleep. But a Jagrat Jiva, Kamam Nirmimana, who is it? Because of which the Jagrat Jiva wants to fulfill his desires. What is it because of which the Swapna Jiva wants to fulfill all its desires? Kamam Nirmimanaha. So it is that consciousness which is the witness when the Jagrat Jiva desires and experiences things. It is that consciousness which is the witness consciousness which witnesses when the Swapna Jiva is desiring and experiencing the objects of desire. And what is that Atma? Tadeva Shukram Tad Brahma. This is a Mahavakya. Tad Atma Brahma. स एषः आत्मा सुप्तेषु जागर्ति Sa tad brahma. This is a Mahavakya. Atma Brahma Aikyam is being talked about here. So Tadeva Shukram Tad Brahma. That consciousness, that witness consciousness, which is all the time awake, which is the Sakshi of Jagrat Avastha, Swapna Avastha, Sushupti Avastha also. This very consciousness is Tad Brahma. It is Brahma. Atma Brahma Aikyam is talked about. This consciousness is not one consciousness behind this body. It is that consciousness existence which is the adhishtanam of all the jivas and the entire universe. Sa yesha Atma Tad Brahma. That Atma, which is the Sakshi Chaitanya Atma of all the three states of the jiva, is nothing but this Brahma. Tadeva Amritamuchyate. And that Brahman, this Atma, is the immortal one. Na jayate mriyate va vipaschit. That which does not get born, that does not get destroyed or die. Tadeva Shukram. That is the purest. Asanga Atma. That Atma which doesn't get tainted by anything else. It may be watching, it may be the Sakshi Chaitanyam of Jagrat Avastha, but the objects of the Jagrat Avastha do not affect this Atma. It may be the Sakshi Chaitanya Atma, the witness of the Swapna Avastha, but anything in the Swapna does not affect this Jiva, this Atma at all. In Sushupti Avastha, the ignorance of the Sushupti Avastha and the happiness or not knowing anything does not affect the Atma. Therefore, this Atma is Shuddha Atma, Nitya Shuddha Atma, Shubhra Atma, Asanga Atma, that which is not tainted by anything. Tadeva Shukram, Tad Brahma, Tadeva Amritam Uchate. And what is this Brahman? Tasmin Sarve Lokaha Shritaha. In this consciousness, the entire universe is situated. All the 14 lokas, if you take the lokas as 14 bhuvanani, if you take 14 lokas, if you take bhuva, suvaha, all those lokas which we talk about, from any point of view, all fields of experiences, all the lokas, sarve lokaha, shritaha, tasmin. Tasmin Brahmani, in that Brahman, Tasmin Atmani, in that Atma, in this Atma, that Atma, what is situated? Sarve Lokaha Shritaha Tadunatyeti Kaschana. There is nothing beyond that. That is the final. That is the ultimate. That is the Nitya Atma. That is the immortal Atma. That is the imperishable Atma. There is nothing else other than this Atma. Nothing can transcend that Atma. No anatma can go beyond this atma. And this which nobody can transcend or go beyond, that which is the ultimate, which is nothing but me. In the same Kathopanishad, Purushat na param kinchit sa kashta sagat paragatihi, Yamadharmaraja said in the previous chapter. There's nothing other than this atma. Purushat na kinchit param. There is nothing else other than this atma. Sa kashta, sa paragatihi. That is the ultimate. That is the paragati. There is nothing else other than this. So this is this Brahman which you wanted to know. Yetadvaita. And this Brahman is nothing but the same Atma which is in you, which is in me, which is in everything else. It is the same Atma. And to talk about this Sarvatma Bhava, now Yamadharmaraja is going to give three examples. He is going to give three examples wherein how this one Atma manifests itself as all manifestations. That is what is going to be talked about in the next three verses. So we'll take the ninth verse now. It says, Agniryathayiko bhuvanam pravishtaha रूपं रूपं प्रतिरूपो बभूव एकस्तथा सर्वभूतान्तरात्मा रूपं रूपं प्रतिरूपो बहिश्च. This Atma, which is Ekam, manifests itself as Anekam. The ekatvam of Atma, there is one Atma without a second, ekam advayam Atma, manifests itself as multiple matter principles. The same Atma reflects in millions of matter principles and manifests as multiple. That which is unlocalized consciousness, Atma, Brahman, manifests itself as a localized matter principle. That which is single one and that which is imperishable manifests itself in the perishable matter. That is what he's saying. This Sakshi Chaitanya Atma, where is it? This Brahman, where is it? Is it somewhere that I have to look for? No, it is everywhere. It is the Chaitanya Atma behind everything, behind every body mind sense complex. When I look like this, can I recognize the Atma consciousness? No, it is unmanifest. This unmanifest Atma consciousness manifests itself as many. This Ekam Atma manifests itself as many. Advayam Atma, one without a second, manifests itself into multiple names and forms. Though it is present everywhere, though it is all pervading, this consciousness Atma I am not able to see. It can only manifest in various reflecting media. Let me give an example. Electricity is there everywhere, all over it is there. Electricity is there in all the wires. It is flowing everything, but it manifests itself in different gadgets. In a fan, it manifests as a rotating movement. In an iron, it manifests as a heating principle. In a geyser, it manifests as again a heating principle. So, in a light, it manifests as a lighting principle. Can I see electricity like this? No, I can only see its manifestation. If I want to know whether electricity is there or not, I have to switch on a light or switch on a fan and see whether it is functioning. If I simply look like that, can I say electricity is there or not? I cannot say. It is unmanifest, and that is something which is something in the potential form. It is there. It is one electricity, unmanifest electricity, which is there all the time everywhere, but I cannot see it. But that same electricity can manifest itself in various forms in various gadgets. Similarly, this Atma is all pervading, present everywhere, even then I cannot recognize it unless it manifests in some matter principle. And what Yamadharmaraja says is, it is this Atma which manifests in all the matter principle, in the entire Anatma, including your body, mind, sense complex, and the Jagat. This Atma manifests and reflects. It manifests, it reflects, like even light, if you take. Light you cannot see by itself unless it falls on some object and the object is revealed. Simply now, light is everywhere here. Everywhere there is light. Can I see light as light? No. I can see light which is lighting up all the objects here. But light itself is something which I cannot see. Similarly, Atma is also an unmanifest, and it is something which is not seen, not experienced by the senses, because it is so subtle. It is in an unmanifest form, but all pervading, and this Atma can manifest in all the matter principle, reflecting in all the matter principle in the form of Sat and Chit Atma. It can lend Satyatvam or Satta to the object, it can lend consciousness to the object, and this Satta and Chit manifest themselves in various living and non-living objects called as the matter. So now the example that he is giving is, the first example he is giving is that of Agni. That of Agni. Fire. Fire principle is there everywhere on this earth. But do we see it simply like that? Unless it manifests, unless it manifests in a flame, unless it manifests in a log of wood, unless it manifests in my gas stove, Unless it manifests in a matchstick when I light the matchstick, where is the Agni? It is everywhere. The Agni is hidden in that matchstick, in that kashta. It is hidden there. Agni is there everywhere. But can I see the Agni? I cannot see the Agni principle. But it manifests as the heat principle and the light principle in various things. The heat that I feel in the body is the Agni principle. The digestive fire that is there in my stomach, the acid, digestive acid, is nothing but the Agni principle. Wherever I feel the heat, it is the heat of Agni. Wherever Agni manifests, it manifests itself as Agni, but I cannot see. But Agni is there, like space, like Vayu. Agni is also there. Everywhere it is all pervading. But unless it manifests in a particular matter form, we cannot see it. So therefore he says, Agnir yatha ekaha, one Agni. There are not many Agnis. Supposing a flame is burning here, and a wood log is burning there, and a gas stove is burning in my kitchen, does it mean that there are three Agnis? No, there is one Agni manifesting in three forms. There is one principle, Agni principle. There is one fire principle which manifests. There was fire in six places. If there is fire in six places, it is not six fires. It is one fire which is manifesting in six places. So he says, Yatha ekaha agnihi. Agnihi yatha ekaha. One Agni. Bhuvanam pravishta. That which is there in the earth, everywhere, as all pervading Agni. Rupam rupam pratirupo babhuva. It manifests into its various forms, pratirupam. That one rupa of the Agni manifests itself in various forms, in various things. In a stick of wood, it manifests as a fire stick or as a fire, when you match stick. In a pataki or in a particular, fireworks, it manifests as the fire. In the gas, it manifests as the gas. Whenever I am burning firewood, it manifests there as the Agni in the firewood. Rupam rupam pratirupo bhavati. It takes the shape and size of whatever is the object which is there in that. If it is a flame, it takes the shape of the wick. If it is a gas cylinder, it takes the shape of those hold, plates which is there. If it is a wooden log, it takes the shape of a wooden log. But normally, the shapeless, the sizeless Agni, which is there throughout, spreading all over this earth, manifests in various forms of matter. And we can say that the principle of Agni is something which can be recognized in these forms, that which is all pervading. But here also, now also, when we say the temperature today is 19 degrees, that 19 degrees heat or whatever it is coming from Agni. But are we able to see that? We are not able to see that, but we can see it in its various manifestations. Rupam rupam pratirupo babhuva ekasthata sarvabhutantaratma. In the similar way, ekah tatha sarvabhutantaratma. This one Atma, which is present in all the jivas, bhutantaratma, sarvabhutantaratma, ekah. Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. This particular sentence of 13th chapter, a Vedantic student can never forget. One Atma, I am that one consciousness behind all the kshetras, behind all the bodies. So here he says, Ekasthata sarva bhutantaratma. One Atma, one consciousness, one Chaitanyam, which is the Adhishtanam or the content of all the Bhuta, Sarva Bhutantaratma, Rupam Rupam Pratirupo Babhuvahischa. Outside it manifests. This Atma, which is present in every Jiva, in every body mind sense complex, manifests itself as the Anatma body mind sense complex. This consciousness, which is the Adhishtanam of the entire Jagat outside, manifests itself as millions of names and forms. Therefore, what is this Atma? This Atma may be not visible, it may be unmanifest, it may be one without a second, but it ultimately manifests itself into millions and millions of forms, and it is available to us where? Everywhere, behind everything, the satta of every object and the sentience of every jiva is nothing but this consciousness. Should I search for this consciousness? I don't have to go after it. Wherever there is matter principle, the adhishtanam behind the matter principle is this Atma. Wherever I see a body mind sense complex, the Chaitanya Tattva behind this body mind sense complex is the Atma. Then we have another one now. The next one, the 10th verse is talking about same thing but with a different example of Vayu. Just like Agni example, Vayu example is given here. Vayuryathaiko bhuvanam pravishtaha रूपं रूपं प्रतिरूपो बभूव एकस्तथा सर्वभूतान्तरात्मा रूपं रूपं प्रतिरूपो बहिश्च. Kathopanishad is a beautiful Upanishad to chant also, it's a very beautiful Upanishad to chant. And here, the words are the same like the previous verse. The words are same. Instead of Agni, Vayu is there. The second example, again Yamadharmaraja wants to make it very clear that, hey Nachiketa, and through Nachiketa to all of us, you may feel that this consciousness is something which is not available to you, it is unmanifest. No, it is unmanifest consciousness, agreed, because of its subtlety, the subtlest one not available for our senses, but it manifests itself in millions of forms. Any form is nothing but Rupam Rupam Pratirupam. Rupam Rupam Pratirupo Babhuva. Babhuva. Every form is a manifestation of this Atma. Pratirupam. Rupam Rupam Prati. That which is behind every Rupa, every name and form is nothing but this consciousness. So Vayuryatha Ekaha. There is one Vayu, correct? Bhuvanam Pravishta, which is there in this earth. Vayu may be there in other places also, we don't know. But anyway, this Vayu or this air which is there in this earth, it is one Vayu, one unmanifest. I can't see it, I can feel it. I cannot see it, but I can definitely feel it. Like space, I cannot see it, but I can feel it. But it is one Vayu which is moving around everywhere. Bhuvanam Pravishta, Rupam Rupam Prati Rupo Babhuva, manifests in the form of life, pranavayu, in various jivas. In the room you have Vayu, it is the same Vayu. The Vayu which I am breathing is the same Vayu. The Vayu which you are exhaling is the same Vayu. There is a Samana Vayu, there is an Apana Vayu, there is a Vyana Vayu. The physiological pranas that are there, the prana is nothing but Vayu. The physiological pranas, the Samana, Udana, all these Vayus are also prana Vayus, manifesting in that way. Space everywhere, in the space there is Vayu. If there are empty vessels there, there is air and space in that also. In that space, air is also there. Therefore, in various forms, this Vayu manifests. Rupam Rupam Pratirupo Babhuva. Rupam Prati, Rupam Rupam Prati, Pratirupam manifests in various forms. Ekastata Sarva Bhutantaratma. In the similar way, this one without a second, all pervading consciousness, just like the Vayu, this Atma, which is Sarva Bhuta Antara Atma, Sarva Bhuta Antaratma, that which is the consciousness which is in all the jivas, Rupam Rupam Pratirupo Bahishcha, outside, as in the Anatma Jagat, it manifests in various forms. It is the same Vayu which is present everywhere. It is the same Vayu which is present in all spaces. So, just like this Vayu which is not seen is the same Vayu which is here also, which is in some other place also, any other place you think of, it is the same Vayu. So, Ekameva, unmanifest Vayu, is manifesting itself Rupam Rupam Prati in different forms it is manifesting. Similarly, ekastatha sarvabhutantaratma rupam rupam pratirupo bahishcha. Outside in the material world, outside this in the jiva as the body mind sense complex, just like vayu, this atma, this consciousness also is manifesting in various names and forms. The third example that is given here is that Atma is not only lighting up everything in the Jagat, but at the same time, it is not affected by anything that it lights up. The light of this bulb lights up everything here, but it is not influenced or affected by anything that it lights up. Similarly, Atma manifests in all the matter principle but does not get affected by the doshas of the matter principle. This is what is explained here in the next verse, and the example of Surya is given. So he says, Suryo yatha sarvalokasya chakshuhu na lipyate chakshushayir bahya doshaihi ekastata sarvabhutantaratma न लिप्यते लोकदुःखेन बाह्यः. Very beautiful verse. Suryah yata sarvalokasya chakshuhu. Surya is considered, the sunlight is considered to be the light behind every eye of every jiva. Why? Because Surya Bhagavan is the Adhishtana Devata of the Chakshurindriya. Adhishtana Devata of the Chakshurindriya. And therefore it is said that Yatha Suryaha Sarva Lokasya Chakshuhu. It is the Adhishtana Devata of every Chakshurindriya of those 184 lakhs or whatever number of jivas are present. It is the Chakshuhu, the eye of all the jivas. It's the Adhishtana Devata. Na lipyate chakshushaihi bahya doshaihi. But my chakshu dosha does not affect. Somebody is blind, that does not make the sun blind. Somebody is squint, it does not make the sun squint. I have a cataract, sun doesn't get affected by my cataract. So, what is the meaning of this? Chakshu doshahi, though it is the eye of the entire universe, it does not get affected by the doshas of the individual chakshus of all the jivas. Secondly, it lights up everything in this world but does not get affected by whatever it lights up. You may ask me the question, the sun is some 9 crore light years away. How can it get affected by what is here? We are not talking about the sun, but we are talking about the sunlight. The sunlight which falls on a dirty matter, sunlight which falls on a temple, sunlight which falls on Ganga, pure Ganga, sunlight which falls on a slum with dirty things around. But the light of the sun does not get affected in any way. Surya, being the very Chakshu, Adhishtana Devata of Indriya, Chakshurindriya, does not get affected by the inner doshas of the eye. Therefore, he says, Na lipyate chakshushaihi bahya doshaihi. Individual chakshu dosha does not affect the sun. All the dirty things that the sunlight lights up outside, dirty matter, putrefying matter, all kinds of things the sun lights up, but the sunlight doesn't get afflicted or affected by the outer doshas of the matter outside. Ekastatha sarva bhuta antaratma. Again, one sarva bhuta antaratma na lipyate loka dukkhena bahyaha. Though it is the Atma behind this body mind sense complex, the dukkha, the karma phalas, the samsara of this body mind sense complex jiva does not affect the Atma. Each body mind sense complex, each jiva has its own problems, its own samsara. And behind every jiva is the Sakshi Chaitanya Atma. But does this Sakshi Chaitanya Atma get affected by the dukkhas of what it lights up? No. Just like the sunlight does not get affected by whatever it lights up, the doshas or the gunas of whatever it lights up. Similarly, the Atma may be invigorating, Atma may be giving Chaitanyam to this body mind sense complex. It does not get affected by the Loka Dukkha. Loka Dukkhaihi na lipyate. There is no lepa. There is no question of getting afflicted or affected by the dukkha, samsara of the jiva or the world outside. Whatever dukkha is there outside in the world, whatever dukkhas or samsara that I am going through as a jiva, Atma does not go through. Therefore, to say I am dukhi is a wrong thing. I am not dukhi. This jiva is dukhi. I am not the jiva. I am not the mind. Kama krodhas are in the mind. Lobha mohas mada matsarya is in the mind. I am not afflicted by any of them. They are the doshas of the mind. Samsara is the dosha of this ahankara. It is the affliction of the ahankara. I, the Atma, the consciousness, is a pure witness of all these things. And none of these doshas belong to me. Ekastata sarva bhutantaratma na lipyate loka dukkhena bahyaha. Bahya loka dukkhena na lipyate. Any affliction of the world outside, of the matter principle, of the body mind sense complex, does not in any way affect this Sarva Bhutantaratma. And again in the next verse, in the 12th verse, Bhagwan Yamada, these are some of the most beautiful verses here. The second Valli of the second chapter and the third Valli of the second chapter, actually we find that, sorry, the first Valli of the second chapter and the second Valli of the second chapter. These are some of the most beautiful verses you can find in any Upanishad, and it is taught so simply, so beautifully, in such a simple way, giving such simple Laukika examples that one cannot miss the teaching. Yamadharmaraja is a teacher par excellence because he has taken the most common examples that we can see in our day to day lives and understand a very, very subtle thing like Atma, of Asangatvam of Atma. Sarva-vyapitvam of Atma, how the unmanifest Atma is manifesting itself in the form of various matter principle. How Atma, though it is responsible for manifesting itself in every matter principle, does not get affected by the doshas and gunas or the properties or attributes of whatever it is lighting up. Lighting up means making known. It's not that Atma is a light. Atma is not a light. In the presence of Atma, I know. In the presence of Atma, Jagat is experienced. In the presence of Atma, this Jiva conducts the Vyavhara along with the, you know, Jagat. So, this Atma, one and the same, in spite of being manifest in everything, does not get afflicted by anything. So beautifully explained by Yamadharmaraja. In the next verse, in the 12th verse, the same thing he says, but in a different way, saying that this consciousness is independent. It exists independently and it does not depend on anything or anybody for its existence. Matter principle or anatma is mithya because matter principle or anatma, body mind sense complex it may be the world outside, cannot exist by itself. All anatma requires the support of Atma Chaitanyam to sustain itself or to be there. The satta or the existence of everything is drawn from Atma. The chit or chaitanyam or the life principle in a jiva is drawn from this Atma. Therefore, he says here that though this Atma is there behind every matter principle, it is an independent principle, absolutely independent, capable of existing by itself. Matter cannot exist without Atma, but Atma can exist without matter principle. That's what he says here. Eko vashi sarva bhutantaratma ekam rupam bahudayah karoti Tam atmastham yenu pashyanti dhiraha tesham sukham shashvatam netaresham. What is the phalam of this knowledge? Seeing this Atma to be the Sarva Bhutantaratma, who's manifesting as that consciousness principle behind every matter principle. What is the phalam of this knowledge? A person who knows this, he says dhiraha. Dhiraha, in the third line, you see dhiraha means the vivekis, the mumukshus. Ye anupashyanti, those who see this, anupashyanti. Anupashanti means what? Based on the Shastra teaching, based on the Guru Shastra teaching. They see this. What do they see? This Atma Chaitanyam as the Sarvatma manifesting in all the matter principle and not getting afflicted by any matter principle. Ye Anupashanti Dhira. These dhiras, these vivekis, these mumukshus, these jnanis, they see anupashyanti. Where do they see this Atma? Tam Atmastham, that Atma which is recognizable in my own Hridaya Guha. Tam Atmastham Atmanam Ye Anupashyanti Dhiraha. Atmastham, I don't have to go anywhere. What I am looking for, this Atma, is all the time shining in my own Hridaya Guha. Ahamasmi iti constantly sphuranam. Constantly it is pulsating in me that Ahamasmi iti. So, tam atmastham atmanam, that consciousness, which is the Sakshi Chaitanyam, which is behind this very body, mind, sense complex, that which is available to me as Chaitanya, Chaitanya Rupena, Hridaya Guha Madhye, Yaha Tishtati, the one which is there, that consciousness is seen as that which is described here by Yamadharmaraya. By whom? By the Dhiras, Anupashanti. And then what is this consciousness? That is me. This me, that consciousness, that is me. What is this? Ekaha, one without a second. Vashi, Swatantra Rupena Vartate. Vashi means Swatantra. It does not depend upon anything. Matter principle is aswatantra, whereas this is absolutely swatantra, swatantra rupena. Without any matter principle, this Atma can be there by itself. Ekaha, one without a second. Vashi, that which is independently existing. It does not require anything else for its existence. Sarva Bhutantaratma, that which is the consciousness, the Sakshi Chaitanyam behind every matter principle. Yekam Rupam Bahudhaya Karoti. Though being one consciousness, manifests itself in myriads of forms, in millions of body, mind, sense complexes, in millions of names and forms called Jagat. Tam Atmanam, Atmastham Atmanam. That particular Atma, which is nowhere else, but which is available, Hridaya Guham. Yoveda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman, says another Upanishad called as Taittiriya Upanishad. A person who can see this consciousness nowhere else but it is the same consciousness which is recognizable here in this Hridaya Guha, is that very consciousness which is the Adhishtanam of this entire universe. Iti ye dhiraha anupashanti, those who see that. Anu means what? They see it after the Vedantic teaching. Anupashyanti, Pashyanti, Anupashyanti, as per the teaching of the Vedanta. Tesham, for those people, Sukham Shashvatam, they constantly abide in the Sukha Swarupa Atma. That means what? They are jnanis who are abiding in the Ananda Swarupa Atma. And once they have seen this, there's no question of them getting afflicted by the doshas of their own body. Even though there are illnesses may be there, problems may be there, samsara may be there, it is for the jiva. It is for the body, mind, sense complex. But that in no way affects me, the Atma, because I am totally independent. Swatantraha, vashihi, na lipyate chakshushahi bahya doshaihi, not affected by any of the doshas, either in this body mind sense complex or in the jagat outside. And this is the Shashvatam Sukham, not the temporary sukha we get after fulfilling some desire, not the temporary sukha we experience during sleep. It is not that. It is Shashvata Sukham this person experiences. Na itaresham. The Ajnanis don't understand this. Itaraha means what? The one who is not a Dhira. The Dhira experiences or understands this. The Dhira understands this. But a person who is an Aviveki, a person who is not, really Ajnani or a Mumukshu, a person who doesn't see this, Yaha na anupashyanti, that is the itaraha. He is the other one. Na itaresham. So nobody else, the others do not see this Atma clearly as it is to be seen. So in the next verse, we have about 9 minutes, so we'll do. नित्यो नित्यो नित्यानां चेतनश्चेतनानाम् एको बहूनां यो विदधाति कामान् तम् आत्मस्थं ये अनुपश्यन्ति धीराः तेषां शान्तिः शाश्वती नेतरेषाम्. Very close to the verse that we saw in the last verse we saw, very close to that. Nityah anityanam. This Atma is the Nitya Atma, but it is all the time found in the company of Anitya. It is the Adhishtanam of Anitya body mind sense complex. It is the Adhishtanam of Anitya name and form Jagat. Though it is the Nitya Atma, it is present all the time in Anitya matter principle. Anavasteshu avasthitam, it was said in one of the previous verse. Anavasteshu. In anavastha, in anatma, avasthitam, it is there. This anatma cannot exist without this atma. Therefore, nityaha anityanam. This nitya atma is present in the anitya matter principle. Chetanas chetananam. In all the sentient beings, in the jivas, it is present as chaitanyam. Chetanaha chetananam. As chaitanya, as the consciousness principle, as the knowing consciousness, it is available within all the sentient beings or the jivas. Yeko bahunam yo vidadhati kaman. It is that same consciousness as Saguna Ishvara is able to bless a jiva with whatever he wants. This he was talking about Nirguna Brahman now. Suddenly, Yamadharma Raja in the second line says, Saguna Ishvara, Ishvara with the name and form, whom we worship or propitiate during a yaga yajna is nothing but this Brahman. It is the same Brahman who also manifests as a particular Ishta Devata or as a particular Devata, and in the Yaga, Yajna, or whenever I worship or propitiate a particular deity or Deva, this Brahman in the form of that particular Deva, Vidadhati Kaman, fulfills my kamas. Who fulfills the kamas? It is the same Brahman. But in the form of my Ishta Devata, fulfills all my kamas. Vidadhati Kaman. Tam atmastham yenu pashyanti dhiraha. Tam atmastham, same. Two last lines are same as that of the last verse. Tam atmastham atmanam. That which is present as the Chaitanya's principle, as Chaitanyam in Chaitana Jivas. That which is present Sat Rupena in all the Anitya object, as Nitya Swarupa, which is present in Anitya objects. And that which can, in the form of one's Ishta Devata or Saguna Ishvara, fulfill one's desires, is nothing but this Atma. Tam Atmastham Yena Anupashyanti Dhiraha. They see this consciousness in themselves. It is the same consciousness which manifests as Saguna Ishvara also, fulfills one's desires also. It is the same consciousness which is the ultimate support or adhishtanam of this entire universe, including me also, those who anupashyanti, those who see it clearly after the study of the Shastras and through the Guru, Tesham, for such people, Shantihi Shashvati. Sukham Shashvatam was talked about in the previous verse. Here it is Shantihi Shashvati. They're all the time having that peace which never goes away. The peace, security, and happiness, permanent peace, ever peaceful. This jnani is ever peaceful. There is no requirement of anything from outside. Atmaniyeva atmana tushtaha. Does not desire for anything from outside to keep himself shashvataha in shashvata sukha and shashvati shanti. This shanti or peace that one is always looking for, nowhere else you will get it in the anatma. This peace is the peace of Atmastham Atma. It is in me. It is this Atma which is within me, which is the very source of peace, which is the very source of security, which is the very source of happiness. If I have to get that, I should not be looking for Anatma outside. I should be Anupashyanti. I should go after the teachings of Vedanta and the Guru and see that Atma, which is a source of permanent peace, security and happiness within me and na itaresham. Others who go after peace, security and happiness to outside world, to the world outside, they do not get this particular peace. So, with this, we will stop today's session. ॐ नन्दन्तु साधका सर्वे विनश्यन्तु विदूषकाः अवस्थाशाम्भवी मेस्तु प्रसन्नोऽस्तु गुरुः सदा सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.